Jim Montgomery said you guys are diving on penalties.
What's that?
Jim Montgomery said you guys were diving on penalties. You talked about it after the game. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the first call, the only embellishment call of the series, I don't think it was a penalty, like the cross check, but we got to be careful about that. So I understand the ref called that one. So he can throw himself on the board. So I think that's why that one got washed out. I would say that I'm accepting no calls from the pot.
Were you the coach of the Hurricanes with the whole Eddie Belfour thing that was back with Stahl? Okay, that was like
Don't
10.
remember that one.
Yeah, okay, you weren't. That was fun.
We're gonna have to put an age limit on the door, George, you and I.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Colby's not here, so you're all right.
yeah, Colby, who's Eddie Belfour?
Coach has been in Reinhart coaches.
Okay, yeah.
And with that line today, looked like you had Gaggio, Lomberg,
Just filling holes.
Okay.
So just maintenance for those guys, or?
No maintenance. Both of them, Sam Reinhart has done this now 3 times. When we've had an opportunity to take a 2-play block, we've asked him to. And it's the second time Sam Bennett's done it. So tried to get Barkov to do it, but he won't.
So with that, you anticipating lineup being the same for Game 6 then, or?
Close to it, yeah.
Looking at a guy like Ryan Lomberg, who hasn't played since he got sick, how have those guys been? Those guys
been really
that have
good.
been the fifth line.
Well, you can. So even if you don't take my word for it, and you could sit up there and watch the practices and listen to them, and that's almost a tell of those guys in the playoffs that are in and out, how they fit, how they feel. They're still chirping, right? They're still guys. They're completely part of it and part of the room. So they've been great.
Someone just said they'd rather be on the bench in this position with the Panthers than on the beach somewhere and be in the top 6 somewhere else and be in Cancun.
Sharing this is what it's all about, the whole thing, right? The energy, the ups, the downs, the juice. This is just, maybe it's not completely different. We had a little bit of this in the regular season last year because of the fight we had to put in to get to the playoffs last year. But it's just such a different thing. This is the special time in hockey. And as the players get older, coaches get older, you just learn to appreciate so much more. It's so hard to get here. There's not 17 or 16 teams that just are on a run in the playoffs every year. It's hard to get here. So when you get here, you got to enjoy it. I think those guys, critical pieces last year, and at times they'll be critical pieces this year.
Paul, do you put any stock into, you've won 5 straight TD Garden going back to last year in the playoffs, and you go back now and try to win a 6th straight end this thing. Do you put any stock into that?
I've never really understood that whole, a team's got it, but there is, right? Like there's certain teams, our regular season record against certain teams is incredible against some teams, and then even if they're not not very good, right? So I don't feel that happens in the playoffs. There would be a comfort level, I think, road and home. I do believe in that, right? Like coach teams, we're not losing at home, or we're a great road team. I feel like we play pretty close to our game at home and on the road. There's not much variation, and that's true analytically as well. There's not if you separate home and road games, the biggest differentiation in regular seasons is you have a tendency to take more penalties on the road, and that changes some of your analytics. But let's go ahead.
Paul, Anton Wendell, maybe kind of like a 2-parter for you. Just in terms of his improvement, not just year over year, but it feels like he really turned the corner about around January when he got put up on the line with Ryan.
Yeah.
And then just him maturing into somebody who you can rely on in really all situations.
Right. Well, there was a stat on one of the boards in one of the games, and I don't know if I got this number right, so I'll have to ask you to find it if it's close. But he's closing in on 40 playoff games. Did you mention that?
That was
you
his 40th
said,
last game.
okay, you said that to me.
Yeah.
Doug Plagens, everybody. That's an incredible number for a young man, and it is just, you cannot tell a player what the playoffs are like. You cannot tell a young player. It's no different than when they come into the league. They think, oh, my skills are right there. I'm ready to play in the NHL. And sometimes these young kids come in and they have great skills and they are kind of ready, except there's a whole bunch of their game they don't have yet, right? So it takes them years to get that. It's the exact same idea as taking a young guy, and we had a conversation in Edmonton 2 years ago about the physicality of the game and where this game will go. and what the playoffs are like. And he tried, you know, the next game, I think he had a couple of hits. He was more physically involved, and that was kind of the start of the process for him. The value of the run last year is maybe for a guy like Anton Lundell more than anybody else. He's a completely better understanding. So when you grab him in November and say, hey, you got to get on it a little heavier, he knows why. I agree with you. He was good this year. I think what happened early on, young guy, he's got a contract coming up. He doesn't cheat the game. He just wanted to score. He had a bunch of chances that didn't go. I think it slowed his game a little bit. Then he hit that kind of mid-December, we had a funeral for everybody's stats in the room, and then you just go play, and you just kind of say, you're right though. He got in, we had the injury, he goes in and plays with Sam Reinhart again, and boom, he takes off, and then it didn't matter who he played with. It was his game. So what you're looking for in a center iceman is they will come to an age where they can drive their own line, and I feel he's driving that line now.
Looking at the power play the past couple, besides for that 4-goal game, have you guys thought about tweaking anything or anything like that?
We'd like to score, George.
Yeah.
We had the 4-goal game, then the game winner, the next one, or the game tire, the next one. And then we had 3 good looks on the back half. We didn't love our entries. So we'll just try to clean those up. I think we're 1 or 2 in entries over the course of the year.
Coach, I know we talked about Forsling quite a bit. We just talked about penalties. How impressive is it to have a stick as active as his is and to kill as many plays as he does without taking penalties? It seems like he's really mastered that art.
Yeah, so he's got the 2. There's some guys that are great skaters and they close the gap, and I'm gonna pull names out. When I said that to you, the first name, Brett Hedigan reminded me of that. He was such an incredible skater that he could take his game, and he came into the game as an offensive defenseman, but he became then a really strong shutdown guy, and it was all his feet. And then you've got these guys with have incredible sticks. They just knock stuff out of the air. And I don't know, I remember Nick Lidstrom doing that in the Stanley Cup final 20 years ago. You'd make a play, you got a break, right? You got your 2-on-1, just knock the thing down all the time. He does that in practice all the time. Drives guys nuts on the 3-on-2s. But he's so good at they don't get frustrated. They kind of, that's forced, what are you gonna do? And he's got the combination of the 2. He's got these incredible skating defensemen. His gaps are great. The style of game that we played, I think, is perfectly built for his talents. And then he's got the incredible stick.
Well, I had some people say to me, like, when we're in a situation like this, you're so mild-mannered, but the choice words you used the other night when you're trying to fire for a team is getting a lot of play. Are you surprised about that?
That's just a bigger philosophical, and it's very poignant for the situation that I feel we're in. I'm always, let's just say, intrigued by the talking point that becomes the story of the day. When I watch the game and go, I don't think that's that big a deal. I would say that not all, you know, if we're going to agree on a word of tirade, that wasn't, are mean-spirited. Some are. Some you're just really angry, right? And that's the emotion you're letting out. I was just thinking that we needed some juice, right? So I was trying to fire him up a little bit about where we're at. You kind of, am I the most excited person on the bench, right? That question goes, sometimes you get into a game in November going, I'm the only person here who wants to be here tonight, right? And then there's sometimes where you say, you know what, you just shut up. And I've said that even out loud, shut, and then I use profanity on my own self at times. Yeah, I mean, we scored a goal. It was just, I get it. The camera's on me. I'm not sure it's a timeout, so I'm not sure if it is or not at that point. Usually I'm careful about when I run my mouth. I know when the camera's on me, so you kind of learn. Usually I'm more careful with it, but I don't get caught as often, and I got caught. And we scored, so that worked out okay for me, and for the team, more importantly, but that had nothing to do with it. There's 1,000 of those out there, and the other team goes right down the ice and scores, you go, fuck, that didn't work. I guess, I think we've worked hard here for 2 years. The X's and O's are pretty well understood and they're communicated. So for me, this is about emotion and finding the balance between making sure that we stay disciplined, and we've been an incredibly disciplined team in this series, and also have some juice and enjoy the hell out of it. Like, I don't want to hold my breath for 2.5 hours just hoping we win. What kind of life is that? And I want the players to feel that from me, because that might be the one thing I have in terms of experience is you get a little older, you don't get to come to the rink, you don't have as many days left coming to the rink and enjoying it. You're in the playoffs, you've got a pretty good team. we got a great bunch of guys. Whether we're down 1 or 2 or up 1 or 2, we can't be holding our breath here, man. We gotta live it, enjoy it.
Well, in that same kind of vein, how do you keep the players, where the series is at now, 3-2, going to Boston, keep players from getting tight and worrying about, well, what if this happens, what if this happens, etc.
Something I know is gonna happen. That I know. The rest of it I don't, so I won't spend any time worrying about the what ifs. And it's the things that you don't know, so you put your heart and soul into Game 6, but what if you need to lose Game 6 to win Game 7? What if you don't learn anything in Game 6 and you win, and that caught you're up 4 straight the next round? So I'm not gonna spend any time worrying about the result. I'm gonna make sure the team's prepared. I'm gonna make sure they feel good about the game, and then I'm gonna go and I don't know if coaching my ass off means anything, but I'm gonna go in and try to be a part of it.
Are you confident they'll won't need to be fired up tomorrow from the situation that they're in? Or?
I don't think they've needed to be fired up at all in the playoffs. I just don't. That's not it. Sometimes you're trying to break the log jam of possibly that question.
Okay.
So you worry that the last 3 shifts didn't go our way, and then they start to tighten. This is not an energy play. I don't think I manage emotions in the playoffs like that. I don't ever have to fire them up. Sometimes I want them to see me loose, and sometimes I want them to see me not. But most times I just show them how I'm feeling. Because that part's true. You go in and you say a bunch of shit that's not true, everybody can tell. Not all the time. Nope. I think I just try to show them how I feel. That's it. That's how I come in here. I do try to manage it because I start talking hockey and I can't shut up, right?
You
See
said
how I did that?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Are you going to Boston?
No.
Okay, let's do it.
You talk about having your team enjoy this run. How do you enjoy this? Maybe not this,
Yeah.
but the
Right.
idea.
So the first part is kind of, you gotta define the word enjoy. So I'm gonna use that for a spectrum of emotion, maybe like this. So you lose a game, you're absolutely distraught. And if you walk up to me and say, hey, are you enjoying this? No, it's the worst terrible feeling in the world, but it's gonna pass. And then you win a game, and I would say I have a tendency to get a little bit lower than I do high. You win a game and it's more peaceful feeling. You feel really good, but you also know that's gonna disappear. So I would say I absolutely enjoy the spectrum of emotion that playoffs brings, the juice of it. Could you live like this 12 months straight? No, you just fry, right? This is all the things that you can imagine that emotion is. It is highs and lows. You are angry at times, whatever it is, calls, whatever, like extremely angry. And then, I make myself enjoy it. Like every once in a while you need a kick too, man. Like it's hard to get here. Right? There's 7 other teams, 32 in the league, 7 are here, and half of them are all tight because they're at 3-2, and half of them are all uptight because they're 2-3, and it's just wired on an off day. So I watched my caffeine intake today, and I won't watch it tomorrow.
It's better than the alternative, eh?
Isn't that the truth, right? Like fishing's no fun this time of year anyway.
Are you considering lineup changes tomorrow? You kind of left it.
I did, eh?
Okay.
A little bit of, I've already considered them.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.